Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Know Before You Buy the Things We Love and Hate. I'm sitting here with an old friend, Marco Salsiccia, and we're going to talk today with Marco about his home and appliances and what he loves and hates. So, Marco, why don't you give us the too long did not read of who's Marco anyways?
Yeah, thanks, Lucy. Yeah, my name is Marco Salsiccia. I'm a Bay Area native, and I live in Oakland, California. I'm an accessibility specialist, and I've been working in the accessibility space since about 2016, both at Lift and DQ Systems. And just as context, prior to 2014, I was actually fully sighted, and I lost my vision very suddenly in 2014, and was a visual effects artist and an animator before that. And yeah, so now I'm just here in Oakland, I live in Oakland with my wife, and that's kind of me in a nutshell.
All right, so tell us about your home. Do you rent? Do you own? Do you have an apartment, house?
Yeah, thankfully we own our house. We were able to buy it. We moved in right in 2020, just before the lockdowns happened.
Excellent, yeah. And I mean, these are critical things for the audience to know because, of course, renters have a very different lack of control over their environment than homeowners do. Mm-hmm. So we're going to start with the hate aspect because I always want to end these things on positive notes. Mm-hmm. So tell me, give me one or two things or as many as you want. You can go on forever. Yeah. What is something in your homes like, why on earth do I have this thing? It's got to go. It's terrible. Or I know I can't replace it, but God help me, I need to replace it because it's terrible. Mm.
Yeah, it's a good question. So when we bought our house, it was actually put together by flippers. So they added a lot of fancy items into it to make it look really pretty. So we came in and of course we have a Samsung French door refrigerator that has a touchscreen on it. Okay. It does actually have a screen reader, but it's practically unusable. Although it is kind of fun to yell at Bixby every now and then. They put in it's a decent, I think, set of Samsung appliances. So we have a dishwasher and a gas stove and oven. The problem is the gas oven, it's all pure touchscreen. And we have, even after all these years, we still haven't set up like touch
dots.
Yeah, like we haven't put touch dots on the screen. So it's either my wife has to come in and dial it in for me, or I use Be My Eyes, and we go through a big song and dance about moving the camera, moving the finger, moving the hand around, trying to tap the right thing and get the right thing. And if I mess up, then we have to do it all over again. And sometimes like they make me put it on convection when I don't want convection and that kind of thing.
Do the buttons activate as your finger touches them, or do you actually have to press?
Yeah, it's touch sensitive, so it's not like a light touch screen. It's literally as soon as your finger brushes it, it does it. Ugh. Yeah, it's not like flush buttons. Yeah. I'm
curious. Have you tried the Apple? What am I pointing at? Functionality that they have on the newer phones, or do you have an older phone?
I have an SE3, so I don't have the LiDAR.
Yeah, it doesn't exist, which is sad because it's a great feature and a great functionality. I don't know that it works. The only person I know who claims it works is an Apple person.
It's from Apple, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've never met anybody who's used it yet, and I'm hoping I'm going to find a non-Appler who will tell me if it works or not. But I know I was with that same Appler in a store, and we tried to look at a device that needed you to do that, and he failed in the store.
Oops.
But it works.
The next device that we also ended up getting recently, because our microwave bit the dust, that was a microwave that we put a bunch of touch dots on and we've had for years. Yeah. And it finally, like the switches in it died, so it would run, and if you open the door, normally it shuts off, but it wouldn't shut off. So it was basically like a big running cancer box right in our kitchen.
Yeah.
So we tossed it out. We got a GE. It was a smaller footprint GE, but the whole selling point was that it ran on Google. Like you could do use your Nest Audio.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, it sounds great.
It's an excellent idea, concept, but the kicker is
it keeps forgetting itself on our network. So because we have a household Google account, and then we all have like our individual accounts for Google Home on our devices. And so when I speak, it's like it recognizes me, and when my wife speaks, it recognizes her. And like so, you put something into the microwave. and you say, you know, microwave for a minute, and it'll say like, okay, starting a timer, but then nothing happens on the microwave. So you have to tell it, it thinks it's running, so you have to go tell it to stop, go open it, close it, and then do it again.
So for the blind viewers, I'm palm facing. I'm holding my head in agony here. This is, yeah, you know, I find that the ecosystem for the speaker systems, no matter which one it is, because I've got 2 of the 3 in my home,
Mm-hmm.
I find that they're not as useful as they used to be.
Yeah, they've been slowly dropping things. Like one of my basic morning routines, like I come in, I have like a good morning routine.
Yeah.
And it goes through, like it tells me the weather, and it tells me it automatically goes to NPR for the news.
Yeah.
Or it plays like the podcast of like not morning edition, but the first thing, you know, the first thing that comes up.
Yeah.
And that's going to get dropped by Google soon.
Yep.
So I only have access to NPR News now. And then, a variety of functionality just seems to be diminishing. But for the basic timer functionality and such, that works perfectly fine and to play music. You know,
it does, yeah. But I'm wondering about the device connectivity. I mean, does your microwave hopefully support another speaker system? Or?
Yeah, it'll do Amazon.
Yeah, maybe we can see about getting you an Echo in that house, like a cheap Echo, and see if it works.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, the IoT of devices, Internet of Things, is not everything it's shaped up to be. I mean, it's, you know, I've got a vacuum cleaner that I'm supposed to be able to say, you know, tell the vacuum cleaner to clean the kitchen, and it finds me the stores nearby. I don't need to know what spirit store is nearby. I don't need to go to the Halloween store.
Right.
I want to go to my vacuum cleaner that's called Spirit and tell it to go clean the kitchen, and it does. The closest Halloween store is. Yeah.
Oh, the recipe functionality is another thing too. It's like, you know, maybe you're just there and you're tired. It's like, hey, give me a recipe for, I don't know, like a pot roast, whatever. And it'll give you like, okay, listen, here are the ingredients, and then here's the instructions, and I'm following exactly what it's telling me to do. You know, if I say instructions, say next instruction, and that kind of thing, and then somewhere along the way it forgets what we're doing. Yeah. And then you can't get back to it.
You can't, exactly. I mean, it used to be really good. Yeah. Like, I loved it when it first came. I was addicted to using this functionality. And all of a sudden say next ingredient, and it will say next step is 1.4 kilometers away. And I'm because there's a store called Next Step down the street. And I'm like, oh, stop it. Just stop it. It's really frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. I mean, I think that the smart speakers are getting dumber and dumber every day.
I agree. And
I don't think it's Google. I don't think it's Amazon. I don't think it's Apple. I think they're all degenerating.
For some reason.
And, you know, when they first came out, they were actually much more reliable than they are now because they didn't have it do too much. They had a very little functionality, and that was it. And then they had larger and larger teams working on it. Yeah. And the larger and larger teams weren't thinking about the basic operation anymore. This is just Lucy's assumption of the market. Yeah. And I think as we moved away from that basic functionality, nobody was maintaining it. And the basic functionality went away, and nobody cared because it was the new shiny and it was cool. And, you know, I can get the new shiny to work, and then 3 months later I'm working on something else and I don't care anymore about the new shiny.
Yeah. It's like too many cooks in the kitchen. And to your point, like about the people that are working on it, one of the current issues that I have is like, so the speaker in our bedroom, you know, we also have a bedtime routine where it turns off all of our Lutron lights, and, it plays like a sleep sound, like crashing waves is like a sleep sound. So just up to like 2 years ago on the Google system, it would play the sleep sound for an hour and then it would cut out. Because I mean, by that point, you're asleep.
Sleep, exactly. Unless you're blind and have, you know, these issues sleeping.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, within a week, the sleep sound would play. And then it would just continue to play all night long. Oh. And then when you're waking, like even when the alarm goes off, it still keeps going. And now, like our speaker, while it's playing it, it makes like intermittent pops, like really high, like just a really quick crack that's very loud. So it wakes me up. And I was looking through the Google forum, and a Google person themselves said like, "Oh, yeah, we took off the 1 hour timer because we thought it would be nicer for people to have it all the way through the night." And it's like they're making a whole bunch of user case assumptions rather than asking the users or building in options, and that's really frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we've torn the hate apart. I'm pretty sure I know you that you could give me 10, 20 more items.
Oh yeah.
But let's move to something you like in your home, something that is a pleasurable experience, and or you bought it and it's like, okay, this works the way I think it should. Tell me one or two things there too.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things, because I'm a huge coffee nerd, is I have a set of reflex kitchen scales. And they work with the series of Smart Chef apps on my iPhone, and so I have a reflex postal scale that has a 30 kilogram or 15-pound limit, and then I have like a smaller one that does decimal grams, like it's much smaller.
Yep.
If I'm doing.
Do you not mean 15 kilogram, 30 pounds?
My bad. Other way.
Yeah, because 30 kilograms is a lot heavier than 15 pounds. Yeah.
I totally flipped it.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
Oh, empirical. To get myself back.
I'm metric all the way. That's the only reason I knew that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So yes, exactly that. 30 pounds. And so my daily driver is like I'm there. I have a really nice. And sadly, they don't make it anymore. It's a Japanese brand called Hadaneon. It's weird. It's HADIN double like cap EEON. It's very weird, but it's a great like 2-liter kettle with chunky buttons, so you know like which is 165 all the way up to boiling.
Nice.
And you can so I have all those settings ready to go, so I can just go to 200 degrees to do a pour over. I put that on my scale. I pour my water and I measure it all out by grams. And my phone is just sitting there, in my pocket or just right there on the cutting board. And I can open the app, and the app has a speaker mode, and the speaker mode ties into the actual voice on the device. So it's not like a really slow 30 grams, like your basic talking scale. Yeah. This I have it set to voiceover speed, so it's going as fast as I need it to go. So especially when I'm pouring and timing is of the essence, like I'm paying attention to that. So yeah, the reflex scales, those were really good. And the smaller one that I have that does decimal, it's good for travel, so I can measure out beans in some water, but you can't do pour over on it because it's a 500 gram limit.
Yeah. Okay. So you measure it out before you go home and have little baggies. your baggies of coffee, what you bring with you.
Could do.
Yeah. I can see it now. Marco getting pulled over for having a baggie. What's this, sir? Oh, it's coffee. Go ahead. Marco's addicted to his coffee.
I really am.
Yeah. So that's awesome. I mean, I've tried those, and I think it's because I don't use the Magic Chef apps that those scales didn't work for me. I found that when I was using that Magic Chef one to weigh out bagels, I would put a bagel on there and it would say 4.5 ounces, and I go, excellent. And I'd pick the bagel up and it goes 7 ounces, and I'm like, what?
You can get confused sometimes. But
you gotta, once you have it tweaked in, you've got it tweaked in. Yeah. So, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, again, we have it's like going back to just simpler items. We have a rice cooker that any rice cooker, you just add a little bit of Braille labeling to it, and it all works. And then I have like an old timey, more like a slow cooker that my parents gave me. Okay. And it literally just has 3 settings, like warm, low, high.
That's it. Is it different buttons or just push?
It's just it's a turn. All it is a potentiometer. So you just turn a switch.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like going back to the simple things, and of course, like the LG washer that and dryer set that you and I worked on before, it's still working just great. With the app.
The app makes it usable. I'm never going to say it's accessible.
No,
it's usable.
It's usable. Usable. You have to put the bump down on it still, but it's usable.
Although I have been told that now you don't have to put the bump dot anymore, because now you can start the machine as long as it's powered on.
Ah, very cool.
It's a new innovation, but they're here, so maybe you and I can chase them down and talk to them about that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So excellent. So now we're at the point where, it's time for you to give your elevator pitch. We've got, an audience of, designers and engineers and manufacturers. What is the one thing you want them to know about, what should they do? What should they understand about working for Marco or other blind people or other people in your situation?
Yeah. I mean, it's all about reaching out. Like, accessibility is about people, and you can't get enamored with the technology that you're developing. You need to ask and incorporate disabled people within in the entire design process to make everything work, and have those personas in your mind when you're doing the feature development. So if you're making a cute little touchscreen, how is someone who's blind going to be able to use it? Or someone who doesn't have, tremors in their hands, or they can't really manage a touchscreen, or, paraplegia or anything like that.
Yeah.
You have to have those personas in mind and not just develop for one common denominator. You need to go for the extremes, so you can capture as many people as possible and sell to as many people as possible, and not just one type of, just your own, maybe yourself or your own demographic. So I always, that's what we always kind of go for, is like, incorporate us, ask us, do your user research, and also hire blind people and hire people with disabilities to work within your design, your UX design team, and get the lived experience right there. And you'll be able to making much better products in the long run. More inclusive, and anything that comes out of that with inclusive design and universal design, because that creates, what we call the curb cut effect, where you make something that works for one person and a whole bunch of other people can use it, and it's much easier to use.
Yeah, I mean, every time we get into a delightful, accessible experience, it's not just a blind person who likes it. It's everyone who likes it. And it's a popular, sometimes the old-fashioned, simple to use, easy thing holds on forever because it's simple to use and the easy thing.
Exactly.
Well, Marco, it's been delightful having this opportunity to chat with you.
Yeah.
And thank you again. And thanks to the audience. We'll see you for the next episode of Know Before You Buy, the Things We Love and Hate. Thank you for watching today's episode of Know Before You Buy, the Things We Love and Hate. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to subscribe, click like, and leave me any comments. And join me next time for another episode.